I'll never forget the day my mom passed away. It felt like the ground had been pulled out from under me. Mom wasn't just my mother. She was my best friend, my babysitter when I couldn't afford one, my cheerleader when things got too hard. Being a single mom myself, I leaned on her a lot more than I ever admitted out loud. When she died, everything got even harder. I was trying to work 2 jobs, raise my little boy, Caleb, and now plan a funeral I couldn't afford. A week after the funeral, I got a letter in the mail. It was from the bank. Turns out Mom had left me a savings account, something she had been putting money into for years. It wasn't millions or anything like that, but it was enough to give me some breathing room, enough to maybe cut back on my hours and spend more time with Caleb, enough to start fresh. I made an appointment with the bank to figure out how to get the money. That's when I met Mr. Collins. He was the branch manager, gray suit, shiny watch, expensive cologne. He shook my hand like he didn't really want to touch me. I brushed it off. Maybe he was just having a bad day. I sat across from him, clutching the letter, my heart pounding in my chest. "This account was in your mother's name," he said, flipping through some papers. "But I'm her only child," I said. "She wanted me to have it." He looked me up and down. "You'll have to go through the claims process. These things can take months, sometimes years." My heart sank. I didn't have years. Then he leaned in a little, lowering his voice like we were sharing a secret. "But there's a faster way." I looked up, hope rising in my chest. "If you sign some paperwork today, we can transfer the funds immediately. A small administrative fee, nothing major." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I should have asked more questions. I should have read everything twice. But I was tired. I was grieving. I was desperate. I signed where he told me to. Days turned into weeks. Every time I called the bank to ask about the money, I got the runaround. Processing. Pending approval. Technical issues. Meanwhile, Caleb and I were barely scraping by. The rent was late. The fridge was half empty. I even skipped meals sometimes so Caleb could eat. Finally, after a month of excuses, I marched down to the bank, ready to demand answers. Mr. Collins wasn't at his desk. I asked to speak to someone else. A young woman named Erica agreed to meet with me. She pulled up my mother's account, frowning at the screen. "You're not listed as the beneficiary," she said carefully. "What?" I said, feeling the blood drain from my face. "According to this, your mother's account was closed 3 weeks ago. The funds were transferred." "Transferred to who?" I asked, my voice shaking. She clicked a few buttons, her frown deepening. "To Mr. Collins," she whispered. It hit me like a punch to the gut. He had tricked me. I felt so stupid, so ashamed. I stumbled out of the bank, barely able to breathe. Sat in my car and cried until there were no tears left. How could someone do that? How could someone see a struggling single mom and think, "Yeah, let's take from her too"? For a few days, I didn't know what to do. I felt paralyzed. People like me didn't go up against people like him and win. I had no money, no fancy lawyer. I had nothing. But then I thought about Caleb, about the nights he fell asleep in my arms, hungry because I couldn't afford dinner, about the dreams Mom and I used to talk about, me going back to school, starting my own business. One day, I couldn't let Mr. Collins take that away, so I started digging. I spent every spare minute reading about banking laws, fraud, anything I could get my hands on. I called every free legal aid number I could find. Most people brushed me off. But finally, a young attorney named Maria listened, really listened. She agreed to help me, pro bono. We filed a lawsuit against the bank and Mr. Collins personally. It wasn't easy. The bank had a whole team of lawyers. They tried to paint me as irresponsible, emotional, unreliable. They said I must have misunderstood the paperwork. They said Mr. Collins had done nothing wrong. But Maria was relentless. She dug up evidence that Mr. Collins had a history of misplacing customer funds. There were whispers from former employees, small complaints that had been brushed under the rug. Nothing big enough to get him fired, until now. The day of the trial, I sat in the courtroom, my hands trembling in my lap. Mr. Collins sat across from me, looking calm, confident, like he still believed he would win. When I took the stand, my voice shook at first, but then I looked over at Caleb, sitting in the front row with a borrowed suit jacket that was too big for him. And I found my strength. I told them everything. How I trusted Mr. Collins, how he rushed me, how he promised me everything would be okay if I just signed the papers. Maria showed the court the documents he had me sign, papers that transferred ownership of the account to him. She showed emails, security footage, bank records. Piece by piece, she tore down every lie. When the verdict finally came in, I couldn't breathe. The judge ruled in my favor. Not only did the bank have to return every penny my mother left me, but Mr. Collins was ordered to pay damages, and he was fired on the spot. I broke down in tears right there in the courtroom. So did Maria, and Caleb ran up to hug me, squeezing me so tight I thought my heart might burst. It wasn't just about the money. It was about standing up for myself. It was about showing Caleb that no matter how hard life gets, you fight for what's right. You don't let anyone take your voice away. Today, things are different. I work one job now, not two. I finally have time to breathe, to laugh, to sit down at the dinner table with Caleb and hear about his day without rushing off to a night shift. I'm back in school too, taking night classes at the community college, studying business. It's not easy balancing it all, but every time I sit in a classroom, I feel proud. Proud that I didn't give up. Proud that I'm building a better future, not just for me, but for my son. And then there's the bakery. It started small, just me, some flour, a secondhand mixer, and a lot of late nights. I baked cookies, cakes, fresh bread, using old recipes Mom had scribbled in the margins of her favorite cookbooks. Recipes she used to make for me when times were hard, turning a little sugar and a lot of love into something magical. At first, I sold them to neighbors, then to a few local cafes. Word spread faster than I ever imagined. Now, I have a little kitchen space downtown, and every morning it smells like cinnamon, vanilla, and hope. Every time I roll out a pie crust or frost a cake, it feels like Mom's right there with me, guiding my hands. Caleb is doing better too. He's growing like a weed, taller every day, hungrier too. But now the fridge is always full. He doesn't have to worry anymore about when the next meal is coming. He goes to bed every night with a full belly and a heart full of dreams. And when I tuck him in, it's with a smile on my face, not tears hidden behind a brave face. We read stories, tell jokes, and plan big futures where nothing feels impossible anymore. Sometimes, late at night after Caleb's asleep, I step outside onto the porch with a cup of tea and look up at the stars. I talk to Mom, just like I used to when she was still here. I tell her we're okay now. I tell her that her love, her hard work, and her sacrifices made all of this possible. I tell her we didn't let the bad guys win, that we fought back, and we made it, and I promise her, no one will ever steal from us again. Not our money, not our hope, not our future. We're standing on our own 2 feet now, stronger than ever, and I know deep in my heart that she's up there smiling down on us, proud of the life we're building, one sweet, strong step at a time.